All right, guys, so we're still working with multiplying a fraction times a fraction. We've already done the area model, and some people like that because we worked with the area model before. They understand area as length times width. Some people struggle with it because it can be a little sloppy putting everything together, and you have to be really precise with it. So this is going to be a different model. We're going to take a look at the length model. Now, this might be a little different, might be easier for some of you, might be harder for others, but you'll have to decide which one works best for you. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start drawing this out. So I have 2/3, all right? So what I want to do is I'm going to just draw this rectangle right here representing one whole. I want 2/3 of it, okay? So I break it up into thirds, shade it in, and there's my 2/3. That's the first number in my equation. Now, my next step is I would like to get 1/4 of this number. That's what 2/3 times 1/4 means. I want 1/4 of this. So I only want a quarter of it. Now, the trick to this is that I want 1/4 of everything that's on here. So I want 1/4 of this, and I also want 1/4 of that. So when we draw that out, the easiest way is just to draw a rectangle underneath it first, draw on the same divisions that were already there. So I've already broken it up into the thirds, so I remember what pieces are there. But now over here, this one, fourths, I'm going to break it up into fourths. I get one out of the four pieces. There. So I get that piece right there. Do the same thing here. I'm going to break it up into fourths. I get one of those pieces. Now, some people don't do this last part because they say, well, there's nothing there. I like to do it, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to break this up into fourths. I get 1/4 of it, but guess what? 1/4 of nothing is nothing. So I get nothing there. Okay. Now I'm going to take a look and see in this blue part, what is 1/4 of 2/3? That's what I'm looking for. So what did I shade in? Now remember, we started off by saying that this piece right here represented one whole unit. So the blue part represents one whole unit. So all I need to do on this is take a quick look at it and see, well, let's see, how many are shaded in? Two pieces. Two pieces are shaded in. Great. Now, how many pieces is it cut into? Because that would be your denominator. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I have 12 pieces there. So I know that 1/4 of 2/3, or a quarter of 2/3, is 2/12. That's the length model. The biggest thing with that is watch out for this piece over here where there's nothing, because you do still need to know how many pieces it is broken into. A lot of people who leave that off will look at it and they'll say, oh, it's 2/8. But that's 2/8 of just this little section. I wanted to know this whole piece. So you gotta be careful about that. And then the other thing to watch out for is I'll always have some people who will count this top part too. All right. This is the part right here. This is the blue part, is the part that is 1/4 of it. So that's the part we're looking at in this problem. All right, so we're going to try one more of these together. This time we're going to take 2/3 again, but I want to find 4/5 of it. Okay, so I'm finding what 4/5 of 2/3 is. Now, when we did, what did we just do? We did 1/4 of 2/3. It was a pretty small number because a quarter of a fraction is a very small fraction. Now, this one right here is almost a whole unit, so I'm going to get almost all of the 2/3. Okay, but it is going to be smaller. I'm not getting all of it. So let's see what I mean by that. So 2/3. Here's my unit right here. This whole big giant piece is supposed to represent one total unit. Okay, I only have 2/3 of it though. So there's my 2/3 that are shaded in. Now I'm looking to figure out what is 4/5 of this part. Okay, so 4/5 of it. So just like before, we're going to draw a rectangle directly underneath it. I'll mark off where it was already divided to show where the thirds were. Now I get 4/5 of everything that was here. So 4/5, and that's a kind of a pain. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now those aren't perfect, but realistically, it's not going to matter. Okay, as long as I can tell what's going on. Now, the other thing I want you to pay attention to is look at how I've already started shading it as I go. The reason for that is I want to make sure that I don't end up mixing these up. And one thing I might do is just down here. Maybe kind of darken this in somehow so I know this is 1 unit. All right, now I need 4/5 here. I don't want to accidentally include that piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I get 4/5 of these. Okay, that was the end of this unit. All right, and then I get 4/5 of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, guess what? Just like before, 4/5 of nothing is still nothing. Okay, now taking a look at my brown part, all I'm really looking at right now is how much of this whole unit right here, that whole piece, how much do I get now that I'm getting 4/5 of the 2/3? So I would get 4, 8. I get 8 pieces. This is promising. But there are now 5, 10, 15 pieces. So I'm getting 8/15. Okay. Which, if I remember correct, let's see, 8/15. If I had turned this into 15ths, this would be 10/15. So it is a little bit smaller than the 10/15. So I'm not getting as much as I started with. I started with 2/3. When I took only 4/5 of it, I got a smaller amount than what I started with. Okay. That is one thing you should always be paying attention to. Whenever you multiply something by a fraction that's smaller than 1, the number should get smaller. And the last thing I want to point out is a big, huge reminder. I've been saying it over and over again, but if you weren't listening, you might have not noticed that I keep saying I'm finding 4/5 of this number. Okay. That is a big key clue word. And I don't like big key words in problem solving a lot because some people use it and it doesn't always work because you have jerks who write story problems like me, who use words that you're expecting it to mean a certain thing. This is one that it's very difficult to write it and it's not a multiplication problem. So it should be a big clue that if you're looking for a fraction of something, it's going to be multiplication. So be on the lookout for that keyword and also make sure you're really paying attention to how you're drawing out your pictures. Good luck today.